The laptop screen flickered in the darkness of the safe house, casting pale blue light across Anne's tear-streaked face. Melissa's terrified voice filled the room, raw and desperate. "Anne, please. Wherever you are, whatever happened, he's going to kill me. He says you have 48 hours." The video cut to static, then to a man's face. Zhang Chen. Older than Yin Shoo, maybe mid-50s, with silver streaking his black hair and eyes like chips of obsidian. He smiled, and it was the smile of a predator who'd already tasted blood. 48 hours, Miss Macaulay. Your life for your friends. Come alone to the address I'm sending, or I'll mail her back to you in pieces. The screen went black. Anne's hands trembled so violently she could barely close the laptop. 3 days. It had been 3 days since the car chase, since the explosion at the penthouse, since her entire world had shattered like glass. 3 days of hiding in this safe house while Yin Shoo's people tried to track down Zhang Chen and the Jade Dragons. 3 days of telling herself that Melissa was safe, that her friend had escaped this nightmare. She'd been wrong. No, the word came out as a broken whisper. No, no, no. Yin Shoo stood behind her, his hand heavy on her shoulder. We'll get her back. How? And spun to face him, anger cutting through her fear. You said we were safe here. You said Chen's people didn't know about this location. You said, I was wrong. His voice was flat, emotionless, but his jaw was tight enough to crack stone. Zhang has resources I didn't account for. He's been planning this longer than I realized. Marcus emerged from the shadows, his usual professional demeanor cracked by concern. Boss, we need to move. If Zhang found Anne's roommate, he might know about this place too. No, Yin Shoo's voice cut through the room like a blade. Zhang wants Anne to come to him. If he knew where we were, we'd already be dead. This is about leverage, not tactics. Anne stood, her legs unsteady, but her voice growing stronger. Then I'll go. I'll trade myself for her. Absolutely not. She's there because of me. Anne's voice cracked. Because I was stupid enough to go to that club, because I got tangled up in your world, because your father made choices that put you in Zhang Chen's crosshairs long before you were born. Yin Shoo's words hit like physical blows. This was never about me, Anne. It was always about you. The room went silent. Anne felt the ground shift beneath her feet. What are you talking about? Yin Shoo exchanged a glance with Marcus, some silent communication passing between them. Finally, he pulled out his phone and brought up a photo. This is your father, 15 years ago. And stared at the image. Her father, younger, standing next to a man she didn't recognize. Both were smiling, arms around each other's shoulders like brothers. In the background, she could make out Chinese characters on a sign, people moving through what looked like a busy street market. That's Zhang Chen, Yin Shoo said quietly. Your father wasn't just in debt to the triads, Anne. He was one of us. A member of Zhang's organization for over a decade. The world tilted. Anne gripped the back of the couch to stay upright. No. My father was an accountant. He worked for a consulting firm. He died in a car accident when I was 16. Your father was a money launderer for the Jade Dragons, Yin Shoo continued, his voice gentler now. He moved millions through legitimate businesses. He was good at it. Too good. When a rival organization offered him more money, he took their deal and disappeared with $3 million of Zhang's money. Anne shook her head, but the memories were already shifting, reshaping themselves in this new light. Her father's late-night phone calls. The way they'd moved suddenly from one city to another when she was 14. Her mother's nervous looks whenever strangers approached. The car accident that had never quite made sense. Zhang spent years hunting him, Marcus added. Found him eventually. Made it look like an accident so you and your mother wouldn't ask questions. But why wait until now? Anne's voice was barely audible. Why come after me? Because you were a child then. Zhang has rules, even in his brutality. But now you're an adult. In his mind, your father's debt passes to you. It's about honor, face, revenge. Yin Shoo's expression was grim. When Chen started watching you, I thought it was about getting to me. I was wrong. You were always the target. I just happened to get in the way. If you're on the edge of your seat wondering if and can save Melissa and survive Zhang Chen's revenge, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment below telling us what you think and should do, and don't forget to smash that like button. This story is about to get intense, and you won't want to miss what happens next. And felt something crack open inside her chest. Not fear. Not anymore. Rage. Pure, crystalline rage. Then let's finish what my father started. Yin Shoo's eyebrows rose slightly. Anne, you said I need to learn to survive in your world. Fine. Teach me. She met his gaze without flinching. We have 48 hours. Show me how to fight back. For a long moment, Yin Shoo studied her. Then, slowly, he nodded. Marcus, clear the training room. We're about to find out if she's really her father's daughter. The next 36 hours blurred together in a haze of exhaustion, adrenaline, and determination. Marcus taught her to shoot, starting with a Glock 19, the weight of it foreign and terrifying in her hands. The first time she pulled the trigger, the recoil nearly knocked her off balance, and the sound made her ears ring despite the protection. Again, Marcus said patiently. Feet shoulder-width apart. Firm grip, but not tense. Breathe out as you squeeze. By hour 12, she could hit center mass at 15 yards. By hour 24, she could reload in under 3 seconds. Her hands developed blisters that burst and bled, but she kept going. Yin Shoo taught her to fight when guns weren't an option. In close quarters, hesitation kills you, he said, circling her on the mat. Your opponent will be bigger, stronger, more experienced. Your only advantage is that they'll underestimate you. He demonstrated strikes to vulnerable points: eyes, throat, groin, knees. Not elegant, not sporting. Survival fighting. And practiced on pads until her knuckles were raw and her muscles screamed. Then she practiced more. On the second day, Yin Shoo sparred with her for Real. He held back, but not by much. She took hits that would leave bruises for weeks. She went down hard more times than she could count. But she kept getting up. Why? She gasped during a water break, her ribs aching. Why are you pushing me so hard? Because the alternative is you dying. His voice was harsh, but his hands were gentle as he pressed an ice pack to her swelling jaw. Because if we go after Zhang Chen and you freeze, you're dead. If you hesitate, you're dead. If you're not willing to do whatever it takes to survive, you're dead. So I'm making sure you understand what survival actually costs. That night, after another brutal training session, Anne found herself alone with Yin Shoo in the safe house kitchen. She was too wired to sleep, despite her body's exhaustion. He was making tea, a surprisingly domestic action for a man who'd spent the day teaching her how to kill. I'm scared, she admitted quietly. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. He handed her a cup, their fingers brushing. The contact sent electricity up her arm. But fear can't paralyze you. It has to fuel you. And sipped the tea, letting the warmth spread through her chest. When we go after Zhang, what are our odds? Honestly? Yin Shoo leaned against the counter, his dark eyes reflecting the dim light. Maybe 30%. He'll have 40, 50 men. We'll have a dozen. His territory, his rules. Every advantage goes to him. Then why are we doing this? Because the alternative is watching your friend die. Because running means looking over your shoulder forever. Because sometimes the only way through hell is straight ahead. He set down his cup and moved closer. And because I've already lost too many people to men like Zhang Chen. I'm not losing you too. The space between them disappeared. Anne's breath caught as Yin Shoo's hand cupped her face, his thumb tracing the bruise on her jaw that he'd given her during training. His touch was impossibly gentle for hands that had killed so many. I'm sorry, he whispered. For all of it. For approaching you that night. For pulling you into this darkness. For destroying your life. My life was already a lie. Anne's hand covered his. My father was a criminal. My whole childhood was built on blood money and violence I didn't understand. Maybe this is just me finally facing the truth of what I've always been. You're nothing like them. Nothing like us. His voice was fierce. You're good and pure. I saw it that first night. It's why I couldn't walk away. I'm not that woman anymore. And closed the remaining distance between them. She died in those blood-stained sheets. I don't know who I am now, but I know I'm not who I was. The kiss was inevitable, like gravity. His lips found hers with desperate hunger, and responded with equal ferocity. This wasn't the drugged, half-remembered passion of that first night. This was real, raw, two people clinging to each other in the darkness, because they might not survive to see tomorrow. They stumbled toward his room, shedding weapons and tactical gear like armor that could no longer protect them from what they felt. His hands traced the bruises he'd given her, his lips following, as if he could kiss away the violence he'd taught her. She explored the scars that mapped his body, each one a story of survival, of battles fought and won. When they finally came together, it was with a tenderness that belied the brutality of their world. This wasn't about possession or control. It was about choosing each other, fully and freely, even knowing that choice might be the death of them both. Afterward, they lay tangled in sheets that, mercifully, bore no bloodstains. Anne's head rested on Yin Shoo's chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. "Tell me about your mother," she said softly. Yin Shoo's hand stilled in her hair. For a long moment, she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, quietly, he began to speak. She was beautiful. Not in the way magazines show beauty. Real beauty, the kind that came from inside. She taught piano to children in our tiny apartment in Kowloon. I'd fall asleep to the sound of scales and Bach, Chopin, Beethoven. She said music was the only language that transcended violence. His voice roughened. My father gambled. Owed money to everyone. The Triads came collecting when I was 12. He wasn't home, so they took her instead. Made me watch while they beat her. Told me it was a lesson about debts and consequences. Anne's hand tightened on his. She could feel the ancient pain radiating from him, the wound that had never fully healed. She died 3 days later. Internal bleeding. I was 15 when I joined the same organization that killed her. Everyone thought I was insane. But I understood something they didn't. The only way to survive in a world of monsters is to become one they fear more. You're not a monster, Anne whispered. Yes, I am. I've done things that would make you sick. Hurt people, killed people, destroyed lives without hesitation. The difference is I'm a monster who's trying to protect you from all the others. And lifted her head to look at him. Then we're both monsters now. Because tomorrow, I'm going to help you kill Zhang Chen. His expression was unreadable. You understand what that means? What it costs to take a life? No, Anne admitted. But I'm going to find out. They didn't sleep that night. Instead, they lay together in the darkness, holding on to each other like lifelines, knowing that in less than 12 hours, everything would change. Marcus woke them before dawn with a sharp knock. Boss. Anne. We've got movement. They dressed quickly, all business now. In the main room, Marcus had multiple screens displaying security feeds and maps. Zhang sent coordinates. Waterfront Warehouse District, Pier 17. He wants you there at noon. Marcus looked grim. It's a kill box. One way in, water on 3 sides. He'll have shooters on every rooftop. How many men can we get? Yin Shoo asked. 8, maybe 10. Everyone else is covering our other locations in case this is a diversion. 10 against 50. Yin Shoo studied the maps. We'll need a better plan than walking through the front door. For the next 2 hours, they strategized. And found herself contributing, her mind working through problems with a clarity that surprised her. What if we don't go at noon, she suggested. What if we go now, before he expects us? Hit him while he's still setting up. Marcus and Yin Shoo exchanged glances. It's risky, Marcus said. We'd be going in blind. We're going in blind anyway, and countered. At least this way, we have surprise on our side. Yin Shoo smiled, and it was the predator's smile she'd seen that first night at the club. She's learning. All right. We move in 30 minutes. Marcus, get everyone in position. Anne, gear up. And strapped on a tactical vest that felt like it weighed 100 pounds. Marcus handed her a Glock with 3 extra magazines. Keep it simple. Point, shoot, don't think. And stay behind us. Always. I will, and promised. But they both knew that in the chaos of combat, promises meant nothing. The warehouse district was desolate at 7 in the morning, a maze of rusted shipping containers and abandoned buildings. Yin Shoo's vehicle stopped 3 blocks away. They approached on foot, weapons ready, every sense hyper-alert. Anne's heart hammered so hard she was certain everyone could hear it. Her hands were slick with sweat inside her gloves. This was real. In minutes, people would be trying to kill her. She might die. Melissa might die. Yin Shoo might die. Breathe, Yin Shoo murmured beside her. Fear is normal. Use it. They split into teams. Marcus took 4 men around the back. Yin Shoo and 3 others approached the main entrance. The warehouse loomed before them, a massive structure of corrugated metal and broken windows. Too quiet. And felt it in her bones. Something was wrong. Yin Shoo raised his fist, signaling a stop. He pointed to the roof. And looked up and saw the glint of metal. Sniper. They knew we'd come early, Marcus said through the radio. It's an ambush. Before Yin Shoo could respond, gunfire erupted. Not from the warehouse. From behind them. And spun to see black SUVs screeching around corners, men in dark clothing pouring out, weapons raised. Back to the warehouse. Yin Shoo shouted. Move. They ran as bullets chewed up the pavement around them. One of Yin Shoo's men went down, blood blooming across his chest. And wanted to stop, to help, but Yin Shoo grabbed her arm and hauled her forward. They crashed through a side door into the warehouse. The space was vast, filled with stacked shipping containers that created a maze of metal corridors. Somewhere in the darkness, and could hear Melissa screaming. Spread out, Yin Shoo ordered. Find the girl. And started to move, but Yin Shoo caught her wrist. Stay with me. Not one step away, understand. She nodded, and they moved deeper into the warehouse. The sound of gunfire echoed weirdly in the cavernous space, making it impossible to tell where threats were coming from. Anne's finger hovered over her trigger, every nerve screaming. A figure emerged from between containers. Anne's training took over. She raised her weapon, acquired her target, squeezed the trigger. The recoil kicked her arms up, but she controlled it, fired twice more just like Marcus taught her. The man dropped. And stared at what she'd done. She'd killed someone. Actually killed them. The man lay motionless, blood pooling beneath him, and it was her fault, her bullets, her choice. Anne, Yin Shoo's voice snapped her back. Move. No time to process. No time to feel. More men appearing, muzzle flashes in the darkness. And fired again and again, not thinking, just surviving. One went down. Another. She didn't know if her bullets killed them or Yin Shoo's. Didn't matter. They found Marcus pinned down behind a container, blood streaming from a gash on his head. They're everywhere, he shouted over the gunfire. We need to get out. Not without Melissa. Anne screamed back. A lull in the shooting. Yin Shoo was on his radio, barking orders. All units converge on our position. I don't care about the cost, get everyone here now. Then Anne heard it. Through the chaos and smoke, a voice she recognized. Anne, please. Melissa. Anne started toward the sound, but Yin Shoo yanked her back. It's a trap. I don't care. Anne twisted free. She's my friend. She ran before Yin Shoo could stop her, weaving between containers, following Melissa's voice. Behind her, she heard Yin Shoo cursing, then his footsteps pounding after her. And burst into an open area in the warehouse's center. Melissa was there, tied to a chair under a harsh spotlight. But she wasn't alone. Zhang Chen stood behind her, a gun pressed to her temple. Around him, at least 20 armed men formed a semicircle. All weapons were pointed at Anne. Miss Macaulay, Zhang said pleasantly. Thank you for joining us. I was beginning to think you wouldn't show. Yin Shoo appeared beside Anne, his gun up, but surrounded and outgunned. More of his men emerged from the maze of containers, but they were outnumbered 3 to 1. Let her go, Zhang, Yin Shoo said. Your issue is with Anne's father. She had nothing to do with his choices. But that's where you're wrong. Zhang's smile was venomous. In our world, debts pass to the next generation. It's tradition. Honor. Her father stole from me, betrayed me, made me look weak. And then your organization killed him before I could. For 15 years, I've waited for my revenge. And now, here we are. Anne's hands were shaking, but she kept her gun raised. My father was a coward and a thief. I'm not him. No, Zhang agreed. You're stronger than he was. I can see it in your eyes. Your father begged for his life. Cried like a child. But you'd fight to the end, wouldn't you? Yes. Good. I respect that. Zhang's finger tightened on the trigger. But respect won't save your friend. Drop your weapons, or I paint the floor with her brains. Melissa was sobbing, her face bruised and swollen. And met her eyes and saw terror, pain, and something else. Apology. I'm sorry, Melissa choked out. Anne, I'm so sorry. Time seemed to slow. And looked at Yin Shoo, saw the calculation in his eyes. They couldn't win this fight. Not like this. If they surrendered their weapons, they'd all die. If they fought, Melissa died first. No good choices. Only bad ones and worse ones. I'll trade, and said. Me for her. That's what you want, isn't it? Let her go and I'll surrender. Anne, no. Yin Shoo grabbed her arm. It's the only way. Anne's voice was steady now, certain. She doesn't deserve this. Let her walk away and I'm yours. Zhang considered this. And Yin Shoo. He goes free too. Your problem is with my bloodline, not his organization. Interesting. Zhang's gun shifted slightly away from Melissa's head. You'd sacrifice yourself for both of them? How noble. How stupid. Is it a deal or not? Zhang smiled. You know what? I admire your courage. Truly. It almost makes me regret what I'm about to do. He turned the gun from Melissa to N. Did you really think I'd honor a deal with the daughter of a traitor? In what world would I let any of you leave? Zhang's laugh echoed through the warehouse. You're all going to die here. The only question is who goes first. The gunshot that rang out wasn't from Zhang's weapon. Marcus, bleeding and limping, had worked his way around the perimeter unnoticed. His shot took out the man closest to Melissa. The warehouse exploded into chaos. Yin Shoo threw himself at N, tackling her behind a container as bullets tore through the air where they'd been standing. His men opened fire simultaneously, and Zhang's forces responded. The sound was deafening, overwhelming, like being inside a thunderstorm made of metal and death. Stay down, Yin Shoo shouted, returning fire around the corner. But N could see Melissa through a gap in the containers. One of Zhang's men had cut her bonds and was dragging her away, using her as a shield. Something primal took over. And wasn't a kindergarten teacher anymore. Wasn't a victim. Wasn't waiting to be saved. She was her father's daughter, whether she wanted to be or not, and she was done watching people she loved suffer for sins that weren't theirs. She broke from cover. And Yin Shoo's scream barely registered, and ran low and fast, using the containers for cover like Marcus had taught her. Bullets sparked off metal around her. She didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Melissa's captor was moving toward a back exit, and if he got her outside, she was gone forever. And cleared the last container with her weapon up. Let her go. The man spun, using Melissa as a human shield, his gun coming up. Time dilated. And remembered Marcus's words, center mass. Always center mass. Don't aim for the head, you'll miss and hit what's behind. But Melissa was center mass. And adjusted, aimed for the narrow sliver of shoulder visible past Melissa's body. Squeezed the trigger. The recoil, the sound, the smell of gunpowder. The man jerked back, his gun firing wild as he fell. Melissa collapsed and rushed forward, grabbed her friend, started dragging her toward cover. Melissa was deadweight, crying, hyperventilating. I've got you, and gasped. I've got you, it's okay, you're okay. They made it behind a container just as more bullets chewed up the spot where they'd been. Melissa clung to and, shaking violently. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, Melissa kept repeating. They came to the apartment, they had guns, I didn't know what to do. It's not your fault. None of this is your fault. And checked her friend for injuries. Bruises, cuts, but nothing life-threatening. Can you run? I think so. Then when I say go, you run for that exit. Don't stop, don't look back. Yin Shoo's people are outside. They'll get you to safety. What about you? And checked her magazine. 4 rounds left. She grabbed Melissa's face, forced her friend to look at her. I'll be right behind you. I promise. Go. Melissa ran. And provided covering fire, taking down one man who tried to pursue. 3 rounds left. Then 2. Then 1. Click. Empty. and fumbled for a fresh magazine, her hands slick with sweat. A shadow fell over her. She looked up to find Zhang Chen standing there, his gun pointed at her head. Out of bullets, he asked pleasantly. How unfortunate. Anne's hand closed on her empty weapon, useless now. She'd failed. After everything, after all the training and the fighting and the determination, she was going to die in this warehouse and Zhang would win. Any last words? Zhang asked. Yeah. Anne's lips quirked in something that wasn't quite a smile. Duck. Zhang's confusion lasted exactly 1 second before Yin Shoo's bullet entered his skull from behind. Zhang dropped like a puppet with cut strings. Yin Shoo appeared, smoke curling from his barrel, his face spattered with blood that wasn't his. Are you hurt? And shook her head, unable to form words. She stared at Zhang's body, at the man who'd haunted her nightmares, now just meat and bone on concrete. We need to move, Yin Shoo said, helping her up. Marcus called in reinforcements, but also police. We have maybe 5 minutes. The warehouse was carnage. Bodies everywhere. The acrid smell of gunpowder and blood. Some of Zhang's men were fleeing, others surrendering. Yin Shoo's people were securing the scene with brutal efficiency. Marcus limped over, his head wound wrapped with a makeshift bandage. The girl. Safe, and said. She got out. Good. Because we need to go. Now. They emerged from the warehouse into harsh sunlight. And blinked, disoriented. Police sirens were getting closer. Yin Shoo made rapid phone calls in Cantonese, his voice hard and commanding. A black van pulled up. Inside, Melissa sat wrapped in a blanket, her eyes wide and unfocused with shock. Anne climbed in beside her and Melissa immediately fell against her, sobbing. It's over, and whispered, stroking her friend's hair. It's over. You're safe now. Yin Shoo climbed into the front seat. Drive. East Side Safe House. As they pulled away, Anne watched through the rear window as police cars swarmed the warehouse. She'd killed at least 3 people today. Maybe more. The law would call it murder. She should feel guilty, horrified, broken. Instead, she felt numb. And underneath the numbness, a cold certainty. She'd crossed a line today that couldn't be uncrossed. The woman who'd woken up in blood-stained sheets a week ago was truly dead now. The question was, who had she become instead? At the safe house, a doctor treated Melissa's injuries while Anne sat nearby, still in her tactical gear, still numb. Yin Shoo was on the phone in the other room, managing the aftermath. Damage control. Evidence disposal. Making the whole nightmare disappear like it had never happened. Melissa finally looked at Anne with clear eyes. What happened to you? What do you mean? You're different. The way you move, the way you talk. Even your eyes are different. Melissa's voice was small. You killed people today. I saw you. I know. Does it bother you? Anne considered the question. Not as much as it should. Does that make me a monster? I don't know. Melissa reached out and took Anne's hand. But you saved my life. Whatever you've become, you saved me. Yin Shoo appeared in the doorway. Melissa, we need to talk about your future. What followed was a conversation about witness protection, new identities, and severing all ties with her old life. Melissa would become someone else, somewhere else, where Zhang's remaining associates could never find her. Can I see Anne again? Melissa asked. Yin Shoo looked at Anne, and she saw the truth in his eyes before he spoke. It's not safe. For either of you. Melissa started crying again. And held her, both of them understanding that this was goodbye. Really, truly goodbye. I'm sorry, Anne whispered. For all of it. For dragging you into this. For ruining your life. You didn't ruin it. You saved it. Melissa pulled back, wiping her eyes. But, and, don't let this world swallow you. Don't let it turn you into something you're not. Too late, Anne said softly. I already am. The next morning, Melissa was gone. New name, new city, new life. And stood at the window of the safe house, watching the sun rise over the city, and felt the last thread connecting her to her old existence finally snap. Yin Shoo found her there an hour later. The Jade Dragons are finished. Without Zhang, they've fractured into a dozen competing factions. My people are absorbing what's left. It's over. Is it? And didn't turn from the window. Or are there more Zhang Chens out there? More debts, more revenge, more violence. Always. Yin Shoo moved to stand beside her. That's the world I come from. The world your father came from. I can't change that. I killed 3 people yesterday. Maybe 4. I'm not sure about the last one. Anne's voice was distant. I should feel something about that. Horror. Guilt. Remorse. But I don't. Does that mean I'm broken? It means you're a survivor. Yin Shoo took her hand. You did what you had to do to stay alive and protect someone you love. That's not being broken. That's being human. I'm not sure I believe that. Then believe this. He turned her to face him, his hands cupping her face. You're the strongest person I've ever met. You went from a kindergarten teacher to a warrior in a week. You faced down killers and didn't break. You saved your friend and yourself. Whatever you think you've become, you're still you. Still good. Still worth fighting for. And what happens now? And asked. I can't go back to my old life. And Macaulay is officially dead, right? New identity, new history, new everything. If that's what you want, yes. I have the resources to make you disappear completely. New name, new country, enough money to start over anywhere in the world. You'd be safe. Free. And heard what he wasn't saying. But I'd be alone. Yes. She studied his face, memorizing the sharp angles and dark eyes that had haunted her since that first night. This man had destroyed her life and saved it in equal measure. He was a killer, a criminal, someone who lived in shadows and violence. Being with him meant choosing that world, accepting it, becoming part of it. The smart choice was obvious. Take the money, take the new identity, disappear and never look back. And asked. Or you stay. With me. We leave together, build something new. Not the triad life, not the violence. I'm done with all of that. Marcus can run the organization. He stopped, struggling with words. I want what we had that night. The possibility I saw in you. A future that isn't stained with blood. You really think we can have that? After everything? I don't know. But I want to try. And thought about Melissa, safe somewhere under a new name. She thought about her kindergarten students who believed she'd taken a teaching job in South Korea. She thought about the woman she'd been a week ago, grading papers and planning lessons about the letter Q, completely unaware that her entire existence was built on lies. That woman was dead, and had killed her along with everyone else. But maybe that was okay. Maybe some things needed to die so new things could grow. Where would we go? She asked. Hope flickered in Yin Shoo's eyes. Anywhere. I have properties in Thailand, the Philippines, small coastal towns where no one asks questions. We could teach English together. I could learn to build furniture. We could be normal. With weapons hidden in every room and trauma nightmares? Probably. And if Zhang's people come after us? If someone else wants revenge for something you did or my father did, then we deal with it. Together. And looked out the window one last time at the city where she'd lived her lie of a life. Somewhere out there, her students were learning from a substitute teacher. Her empty apartment was gathering dust. Her friends were receiving emails from her fake new life. And Macaulay, kindergarten teacher, cautious and safe and predictable, was gone forever. Good riddance. She turned back to Yin Shoo. Thailand sounds nice. His smile was brilliant and genuine, the first real smile she'd seen from him. Yeah. And moved into his arms, letting herself be held. But I have conditions. No more lies. No more secrets. And the first nightmare I have, you're holding me until it passes. Deal. They left the country within 48 hours. Marcus drove them to a private airfield where a small plane waited. He hugged them both, promised to visit, and made and swear to send postcards even though they all knew she wouldn't. Take care of her, boss, Marcus said. Always, Yin Shoo replied. The flight to Thailand took 11 hours. And slept most of the way, exhausted in ways that went beyond the physical. When she woke, Yin Shoo's hand was in hers, and the nightmare she'd been having faded at his touch. They landed in Koh Samui as the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. A car took them to a small beach house, simple but beautiful, with the ocean visible from every window. It was nothing like Yin Shoo's luxury penthouse, and that made it perfect. That first night, They sat on the porch listening to waves crash against the shore, and felt the tension that had been coiled in her chest for days finally begin to loosen. "Do you think we can really do this?" she asked. "Just be normal people?" "I don't know what normal is," Yin Shoo admitted. "But I know I want to find out with you." The first weeks were harder than and expected. She woke screaming from nightmares where Zhang Chen's gun never missed, where Melissa died in her arms, where she pulled the trigger again and again until the magazine clicked empty. Each time, Yin Shoo held her, whispering that she was safe, that it was over, that she was alive. He had his own demons. She'd wake to find him standing at the window at 3 a.m., watching the darkness for threats that weren't there. The weapons hidden throughout the house, the way he positioned himself to always have a view of exits, the tension that never quite left his shoulders. They were both broken in ways that might never fully heal. But slowly, painfully, they started to build something new. And started teaching English online to local children, finding purpose in education again. Yin Shoo took up woodworking, his dangerous hands learning to create instead of destroy. They cooked together, walked on the beach at sunset, learned to laugh again. 3 months after they arrived, Marcus visited. His arm was still in a sling from the warehouse firefight, but he was grinning. "Jade Dragon's officially dissolved," he announced over dinner. "The remnants have been absorbed or eliminated. Your names are off every list. You're ghosts." "How's the organization?" Yin Shoo asked. "Running smoothly. Legitimizing operations slowly. Moving into legal businesses. It'll take years, but we're getting out of the violence game." Marcus paused. "Couldn't have done it without your groundwork, boss." "I'm not your boss anymore. I'm just Yin Shoo now." Marcus smiled. "Fair enough. Just Yin Shoo." After Marcus left, and Yin Shoo walked on the beach. The moon was full, casting silver light across the water. "Do you miss it?" And asked. "The power, the control, being someone people feared?" Yin Shoo considered the question. "Sometimes. But then I look at you, at this life we're building, and I realize I don't miss it enough to go back. I killed people and said suddenly, voicing the thought that haunted her. I ended lives. And some nights, I don't feel guilty enough about it. That's because you did what you had to do to survive. Guilt comes later, when you have the luxury of safety to feel it." He stopped walking, turned to face her. "You're not a monster, Anne. You're a survivor who made impossible choices. There's a difference. How do you live with it? All the things you've done. By trying to be better today than I was yesterday. By building instead of destroying. By loving you." He knelt in the sand, and Anne's breath caught. "By asking you to marry me." The ring was simple, a thin silver band with a small stone that caught the moonlight. Nothing ostentatious. Nothing that screamed wealth or danger. Just beautiful in its simplicity. "And Macaulay died in blood-stained sheets," Yin Shoo said. "But whoever you are now, whoever you choose to be, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Anne's face. She thought of everything she'd lost. Her students, her friends, her identity, her innocence. She thought of everything she gained. Strength, courage, a love forged in fire and blood. She thought of the woman she'd been and the woman she'd become. "Yes," she whispered. 1,000 times yes. They married on the beach a month later. Marcus flew in to be best man, the only guest at their tiny ceremony. The local Buddhist monk who officiated asked no questions about their past, blessed their future, and wished them peace. 6 months after that, Anne discovered she was pregnant. She told Yin Shoo on the porch at sunset, their usual ritual. He stared at her for a long moment, then burst into tears. Actual tears, streaming down the face of a man who'd killed more people than and wanted to count. "We're going to have a baby," he kept saying, like he couldn't believe it. "A real baby. A family. Are you scared?" And asked. "Terrified. What if I'm a terrible father? What if I can't protect them? What if?" And kissed him quiet. "We'll figure it out. Together. Like everything else." Their daughter was born on a warm spring morning, squalling and perfect. They named her Maya, which meant illusion in Sanskrit, because the life they'd built felt sometimes like a beautiful dream they might wake from at any moment. And held her daughter for the first time and felt something fundamental shift inside her. This tiny person knew nothing of the violence that had created the circumstances of her existence. To Maya, and wasn't a killer or a survivor or a woman with blood on her hands. She was just mom. Maybe that was enough. Yin Shoo proved to be a surprisingly tender father. And would find him holding Maya at 3 a.m., just watching her sleep with an expression of wonder. The man who'd orchestrated criminal empires sang lullabies in Cantonese. The hands that had pulled triggers now changed diapers with surprising skill. They built a life. Small, quiet, peaceful. And taught online, Yin Shoo sold his furniture at local markets, and Maya grew strong and healthy and happy. The weapons stayed hidden and unused, collecting dust. The nightmares came less frequently. The past receded, though it never fully disappeared. On Maya's first birthday, Anne stood on the porch watching Yin Shoo play with their daughter in the sand. The sun was setting again, as it did every day, painting the sky in impossible colors. Was it worth it? Marcus asked, joining her. He'd come for the birthday celebration, bearing gifts and stories from the old world they'd left behind. And thought about the question. About bloodstained sheets and warehouse gunfights and the moment she'd pulled the trigger and taken a life. About Melissa, safe somewhere under a new name. About the woman she'd been and the woman she'd become. Ask me on the hard days, and I might say no, she admitted. But today? Watching my daughter laugh, knowing she'll grow up safe and loved and free from the darkness we escaped. Today, I'd do it all again. You're stronger than I gave you credit for, Marcus said. That first day in the safe house, I thought you'd break. But you didn't. I broke. And smiled slightly. I just put myself back together differently. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Yin Shoo carried Maya back to the house. Their daughter's laughter rang out, pure and joyful, the sound of innocence preserved. And followed them inside, closing the door on the past. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges. Someday, maybe, the violence they'd left behind would find them. But not today. Today, they had this moment, this peace, this family built from ashes and blood. She'd woken up in blood-stained sheets and thought her life was over. She'd been wrong. It hadn't ended. It had just begun. If you've made it this far, you're part of and Yin Shoo's complete journey from blood-stained sheets to golden sunsets, from victim to survivor to something more. Their story is complete, but we want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Would you have made the same choices? Could you forgive yourself for the things and had to do? And most importantly, do you believe people can truly escape their past? Smash that like button if this story moved you, and subscribe because we have so many more incredible stories coming your way. Thank you for being part of Anne's transformation. We'll see you in the next one.